Welcome. In this video, we are going to take a look at problem 36. It is from chapter 21 of College Physics 2E by OpenStax. In this problem, we have a circuit. We need to apply the loop rule to the loop specified. Kirchhoff's loop rule says that the sum of the potential differences around the closed loop in a circuit is 0. All right, and so our loop starts at A, goes to B, C, D. So we're going around the outside. So that's how we're going to traverse the circuit. All right, so the first thing we can do is take a look at the currents. And since current I1 is going from A to B, it's going to keep going around clockwise in that top portion of the loop. So we can draw an I1 there and an I1 there. Same thing with current I3. It's going up in the left branch. So it had to be going to the left along the bottom and from top to bottom on the right side. So current I3 is also flowing clockwise only in the bottom half of the loop. All right, so now we have our currents specified, or actually drawn as they traverse through the resistors. Now we mark our resistors. Where the current enters is the high end, or the high potential. Where it leaves is the low end, or the low potential. So where it enters, we make a plus. Where it leaves, we make a minus. So that's capital R1. Now on the internal resistor little r1, on the left side where the C is, that's going to be our plus. On the right side where the D is, that's going to be our minus. The next resistor is R5. At the top of the resistor, it is plus. At the bottom of the resistor, it is minus. Okay. Internal resistor R4. Current enters at the top, that's plus. Exit at the bottom, that's minus. And then we have little resistor R3, that's internal resistance for the battery E3. Where it enters on the H side is plus, where it exits on the I side is minus. Okay, so EMF 3 and internal resistor R3 make up battery, we can call it E3. All right, next is a resistor R3. Current enters at the bottom, that's plus. Exits at the top, that's the minus. Okay, so that will help us get the right sign on the potential difference across the resistor. That's why we mark the resistors that way. All right, so now we start at junction A, and we just go around clockwise. So the first circuit element we see is resistor R1. The last thing we see is the minus sign. So we start with minus I1 R1. Okay. We keep traversing. Next is EMF E1. We see the long line of the symbol. That's the high side of the battery, the plus side. And so we can write plus, and I'll just use E1. You could use EMF1. Okay, keep going. We have internal resistor R1. Last thing we see is the minus. So we have minus I1 little r1. Keep going. Next we hit R5. Traverse R5. Last thing we see is the minus. So we have minus I1 R5. Okay, we keep going. Next is internal resistor R4. Last thing we see is the minus. So we have minus I3 little r4. Next thing we see is EMF 4. We see the short end, so that's the minus E4. Okay, we keep going. We see internal resistance R3. Last sign we see is a minus, so minus I3 little r3. Next is the EMF. We see the long side, so that's plus E3 or EMF3. All right, then we come to our final resistor R3. Last thing we see is the minus, so we have minus I3 R3. Okay, we're back to A, and so we add equals 0. And that's a perfectly acceptable answer for this type of problem. I hope you found this helpful. Let me know in the comments section if you have any questions or if there are any other problems you'd like to see me solve. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.